Hey everybody, welcome back to The Way of Ramen. Today we have a new method to make chashu that comes from a video that I found on YouTube. Now, I'll admit, the footage you're seeing probably doesn't look that great. It's not an impressive looking piece of chashu, but what I was trying to see is if this method works with even the lamest pieces of pork belly, and it does. I previously did a nikomi chashu video on this channel, but honestly, this method is much better. It produces a buttery, soft piece of pork that goes really well with ramen, and has a few other benefits as well, like this bowl of ramen here is made completely with the leftovers from making chashu. So let's get right into it. Now the first thing we're going to do is make the tare for the chashu. Into a pot, add 360 milliliters of shoyu, 40 grams of sugar, 10 grams of salt, 5 to 6 grams of MSG, optional, a few cloves of garlic, about 2 teaspoons of sake, and some green onion tops. Bring this to a boil and keep it there for about 2 minutes. You don't even need to mix this thing because the boil will mix everything together for you. After 2 minutes, turn off the heat and let this cool down. Let this sit at room temperature overnight. The next day, strain your tare into a container for storage. You can keep this on hand in the fridge for whenever you feel like making chashu, and it should last you quite a long time. Next, we're going to prep some aromatics for the braising liquid. Cut off the white part of some green onion. Chop off the roots of a round onion. Smash some garlic cloves apart and slice about 2 slices of ginger. Cut your pork belly into pieces that will fit in your pot, or if you have a slab, roll it up now. Add everything to a pot of boiling water. I had about 1 pound of pork belly, and if you have more, you can just use a bigger pot and add more water and aromatics. Bring it back to a boil and skim off the scum that will appear at the top of the water. After you get all the scum off, cover the pot and let this boil for 1 to 2.5 hours. The boiling time will depend on the size of your pork belly that you're using. My pieces were very small and they only went for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. You can check to see if the pork is done by kind of jiggling them around like this. Take the pork belly out and set them on the side. Remove the aromatics from the braising liquid and now you have a soup stock that can be used to make ramen or Japanese curry. Now let's make the marinade for the chashu. It's very simple, just take 1 part of soup, and to that add 1 part tare. Put each piece of pork belly into a Ziploc bag, and add just enough marinade to coat the pork. Work the marinade into the pork and then use a bowl of water to get as much air out of the bag as you can. Cool your pork belly down in an ice bath and then put them in the freezer for storage until you're ready to use them. It should sit in the freezer for at least a few hours to let the marinade soak in. If they're frozen solid when you decide to use them, partially defrost them in your fridge and then slice them up however you want. Chashu is much easier to cut if it's cold, and so you'll be able to slice them in really thin slices this way. You can take your slices and eat them as is, but they're even better if you heat them up somehow, using a torch or a toaster oven or a frying pan. And that's pretty much it. That's how you make a great chashu for ramen. So as a bonus here, I wanted to see if I could make a bowl of ramen just using the leftovers from making the chashu. The original recipe said the braising liquid can be used as a soup, and the tare, well, tasted like a tare, so I decided to give it a try. I made some negi abura aroma oil here by frying up some green onion at a very low heat in grapeseed oil for around 30 minutes, basically until they started to look burnt. Then I strained out the green onions and put the oil on the side for later. This stuff can be stored in your fridge and used for other things like fried rice or other kinds of stir fry. Into a bowl, I added 2 tablespoons of the chashu tare, 1 tablespoon of the negi abura, and about 300 milliliters of the chashu braising liquid. I cooked up some sun noodles that I had lying around in my fridge. I strained them well and added them to the bowl. I topped it with a chashu and some chopped green onions that were left over from the pork boiling step. And what I had was a pretty dang good looking bowl of Chuuka Soba, aka old school Shoyu Ramen. And when I tasted it, I instantly thought of Top Ramen, the instant noodles. Not that it tastes like instant ramen, but more in the sense that it probably is similar to what the creators of Top Ramen were trying to create when they made their instant noodles. Anyways, I think it's pretty cool that something this good can come from essentially leftovers, and I think I'll probably use the rest of the braising liquid to make some curry or something. I'm always curious to hear what you guys are into recently, like what kind of ramen you're making, what kind of ramen you're eating, so please share that in the comments below. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave that down below as well. And I've been doing some pretty fun things on my Instagram, like live translating Japanese tare recipes, so if you're interested in that, please check it out at Way of Ramen. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.